Hello everyone, this is Leimomi Keliikuli, Intuitive Soul Alignment Coach, and I'm actually here um, with my Facebook group and also with my on my page. Just so you know, if you're listening to my video, you're going to see me go and looking in two different directions, and it's because I'm using my phone and I'm also using my computer to kind of stream this new deeper understanding that I really want to help people with. So if you are listening in, just say hello so I can see, that you are listening. And I wanted to really share a new way of how you can do all of this to really be in alignment. So the topic that I wanted to talk about today is, like why like allowing the chaos like all around you and just like being so busy, right? Could be the major cause as to why you're experiencing these blocks in your business to really move forward into the direction that you want to. And the 3 steps on how to get out of that without losing your sanity, because I think at that point you already have lost your sanity, right? There's a lot of stuff that you're thinking about that's causing all of this other stuff, a misalignment in your life and in your business. But essentially in the end product, it will directly affect your business. So you really need to see it in 2 different ways. And really actually the truth of the matter is how you can get out of this is actually by your soul's gifts. So today I'm going to kind of educate you guys about basically about that, about how using your soul's gifts is going to give you that ability to get out of this chaos, get out of this misalignments and stuff. But you first need to have awareness that that is what is happening. So if you just jump on in, I'm having my live stream in my Facebook group and also on my personal page. So this is why I'm looking between 2 screens. And if you have any questions along the way, any particular stuff that you want me to look into, you can also share that. So I had this revelation today, so this is why I'm kind of sharing about this, because I realized that alignment is about mastery. So, when I talked about soul alignment and being a leader in your industry and, really stepping into your so-called full potential, right? It's really about alignment. And most people just think alignment is just because I am, I'm very successful, that means I'm in alignment. Or I made a lot of money, that means I'm in alignment. Or I, have amazing family, that means I'm in alignment. All of that is actually not alignment. And we've been taught like our whole life, like if you achieve this and you do that, like that means that you're in alignment, but it's not. It's really not. So I'm here to say to you that if you see it from this perspective that I'm going to share with you, remember why I'm coming from this point of view. When you are in alignment, so I just have to paint a picture for you. When you are in alignment, basically you're going to feel these kind of feelings in your life. You're going to feel very so fulfilled. You're going to feel very calm, very peaceful, very relaxed, and this clarity of wherever you're blocked will just go away. You'll have a deeper surrender to your own soul's gifts. Like you're going to feel like I can express this. You're going to feel like really much like a different person. And overall, you're going to feel this kind of alignment to your true self, alignment to your soul. And you won't feel like, you basically don't feel connected to your soul. And this is why all of this chaos is happening around you, right? So you really have to kind of like shift into going into this deeper self-awareness instead of in this hustling mode. And usually that is what is happening when you first like realize like, oh my God, I'm not in alignment, I'm not in alignment. And you keep asking yourself, why is it that you have X, Y, and Z? Why this is happening? Why you feel about this? Why you feel about that? And then your thoughts go in a million miles per hour, and you just like start thinking about, well, what is wrong with this? And you start analyzing all the issues when actually you don't want to do that. Because it's going to cause you more pain. Okay, it absolutely will cause more pain. And when you're in that painful spot, you have to realize what is happening, where you have misaligned yourself in your way that you're creating something in your life. Because usually you made a choice that led to another choice that wasn't the right choice, that became another bad choice, and then you're just like running after the other things to figure out what the heck went wrong, right? That's how misalignment feels, okay? I know you guys all have experienced this before, so you know what I'm talking about. When you are in alignment, you're going to feel the complete opposite of that, like what I said. You're going to feel a greater sense of this like self-realization, and more love and self-determination just starts to come through. You'll be able to manifest pretty much whatever you feel like it comes into fruition without trying. And this is why we say this is the flow, right? And this is why it's so important to create some kind of practice that lets you see whether you are in alignment or you're not, right? And what's really cool is when you are in alignment, you start to do some, practices that help you to continue being in that alignment. But usually when you're not in alignment, the first thing you do is you do the opposite of that. You go and run after figuring out, well, how can I please that person? And how can I like fix that relationship, right? How can I like fix that person's problem? When actually it's just you need to come back into yourself, into giving more self-love, more this caring, being more calm, feeling more this kind of connection to yourself, right, into your soul. And I can tell you how many times, like when I stopped and did that, everything that was not in alignment, they just started to fall away. And I have to tell you that that is one of the biggest steps. That's the hardest steps to do when you are in that chaos and when you're just busy, right? You're going to continue just being busy until it's just so painful. Even really painful to the fact that like you're doing like 20 hours of work when actually you don't really need to do all of that. And you're doing other people's responsibilities, right? Like you're taking care of your kids' problems and you're taking care of your husband's problems, even your whole entire family. And then in the end, you're just like, I just falling apart, right? And that's that feeling of like you're losing your sanity. And it's true, this is where you get lost. So if you're feeling kind of like that, like even pieces of that, even though you are like, being impactful, you're doing things that you love, doesn't again mean that you are in alignment. It actually has to do with your closer relationship with loving yourself. And to me, that is deeper connection to source. When you are connected to source, you just be source. You talk from source's perspective. And what I mean by source, I mean, God, the creator. And you are being this embodiment and being present. So what do you think is the solution? What do you think is going to be that direct thing that you're going to be able to do that's going to give that clarity for you to get out of the chaos? What do you think it is? And many of you probably already have experienced some of it. When you are getting out of alignment, getting back into alignment. But it's so key to understand these steps that I'm about to tell you, okay? So the first level of soul alignment, by the way, is awareness. So first you just need to be aware that, oh my God, I am misaligned. I have created this situation that got me into this situation that got me misaligned, right? You have to see every aspect of where you have faltered, where the pain is. And when you face that, when you face the fact that, oh my God, I created that, that is the scary part, because you're like, whoa, like, how did I end up here? How did I get to this point where I don't even take care of myself? I don't love myself. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know how to, create scenarios or situations that, like, you almost get to a point where you don't know how to make decisions, right? Like, you really don't make decisions any longer. You're just kind of like, okay, let's see what happens. And you're twiddling your fingers and then wondering why, you're not creating or manifesting the things that you want in your life. So that first step is the awareness. And you have to be aware that you need to stop doing what people are telling you to do. And this is tricky, because this is not only physical people. This is the societal rules. This is any kind of illusions that you've kind of believed in, like, oh, if I go to college, then that means that I will make a lot of money and I will be more well off and I will have X, Y, and Z, like this kind of safe feeling. But it's really, that never really happens, because most of you, if you've already gotten to your job, you get into a job that you kind of like just started, and then you kind of was like, well, I don't want to do that, I want to do this, and you just like jump into one job and another job. And if you're, entrepreneur, you end up doing entrepreneurship, and then you drown in that business. Or you do very successful, and then suddenly you're not getting any clients, and then you got to close your business. So there's never a given thing that that thing, whatever that thing is, has safety. And this is what you're running after, basically. You're running after the fact that that thing is going to keep me safe. And that never works, right? It never gets you back into who you meant to be. So that's what the first thing you need to realize is just have this awareness of, okay, what is that? Stop, and stop doing what you're told to do, right? And then be present. Be present, like just start being present with yourself. One of the best things that I've found is that, this is why people say do meditation, or, go for a walk, or, talk to a friend or something like that. It really works. If you really start being present with yourself, like, wonders starts happening, because then you can get back into yourself and then start thinking about why I did that. Why am I taking that action? And once you do that, you're going to be able to see, well, what is it that I truly wanted? I didn't want to take that job because my father said I need to be a lawyer. So I've been doing that over and over again, going through all the motions of it. And I realized I got this law degree and I don't even want it. And that's like 10 years of your life past by. But most of the time, this is what you're doing, is you're spending so much time doing the things that you don't want, that creates more and more choices of what you don't want. And so you end up in this chaotic mess. So I know that's hard, because then you're like, you have to reprogram your brain that actually that's not what I wanted. And because I was safe. Does that make sense? So you need to get back into yourself and find out where that pain is, and ask yourself that question. So why did I actually do this? And is that really, really what I wanted? And the only way you're going to do that is start doing something that gets you present. So how many of you have, tried doing all kinds of different techniques to get you present? What is the thing that worked for you? And I want you to choose like that one or two things that you're just going to do every time when you feel like you need to be present. Like for me, it's laying down flat on my back, my hands on my heart, and talking to myself. That's how I be present. Or it's going for a walk. I go for a walk, I walk. I have whatever's in my mind, I let it run, but I also allow myself to be present in my body, in the in the moment, look at the trees, look at whatever is around me to make me feel in my presence. That's the first step. If you can master that and you can figure out that one or two things that's going to allow you to feel that in your soul, you've gone a long way. Believe me, it's actually about being present. Then next step is you need to become aware of where you may have faltered, meaning like where you made that mistake, where you gave away your power somehow. And sometimes it's like very simple, like I should have said no to that person, right? And it was that simple, but you couldn't have seen it in any other way, right? Because you were so like thinking about how can I solve this and that for that other person, and then you never really got to feel that effects, right? So I missed the comment. I see. Oh, hi, Maureen. She's going into nature and yes, talking out loud to myself. This is how I work through things. So, right, you need to figure out what are that one or two things that you're going to do, especially at that moment, because it's really hard when you're just distracted by all of that stuff, right? You really need to see where you need to go, which actually has to do with you being in yourself, like being in your presence. And then, like I said, once you are aware of it, then you need to find out where you gave your power away, where you faltered, meaning where you like enabled, whether you enabled your son or your daughter or your husband or somebody, right? To take that basically power away. And when you are able to step in your truth this way, you're going to see a difference. You're going to be like, wow, I did this and it created that. And then you can see the in-between of what you're choosing and what you need to choose next. And when you take that moment to see it, I know it's the hardest thing ever to say no, but that could be the one thing that's going to get you to move forward in your life and your business. If you just solve that one thing, which was you either had to let that thing go or you had to change the dynamics of it. Maybe you just need to have a conversation, communicate in a different way. But you have to come from your soul's voice. Okay. Then the third step would be, then you need to choose a new life, a new lifestyle, a new way of doing something. So like, for example, let's say like for your whole life, you've just worked really, really hard. Everything you did, you spent like hours and hours of talking, maybe talking, and they're just not the right people. They're just not your right people. And that conscious awareness like goes a long, long way, right? Maureen says, so when you say you need to go back and basically fix it or undo it, how do you do that when it was years ago? Or is it a matter of, okay, I see where 30 years ago I did this, but instead of going back, I am just being aware of that to not repeat it? Well, that's a really good question. Maureen, like when the thing about past stuff, by the way, is you have to remember that you have to get to the core of why you had that problem, why you created that. And it has a lot to do with you did something that you did not want, or that was not in alignment for you at the moment, and then you just continued doing it like years later. So sometimes you can solve it by just talking to that person. Maybe that person just, like you went through a divorce or you went through something that was very tragic, that you had a very hard time with this, right? That became this new problem, right? Became another problem after another problem. And that's okay. But first you need to stop and see like, well, is this something that needs to be addressed to that person, or is it more of an internal thing? And that internal part is the process, right? So analysis. I call this conscious co-creation. It's a wonderful skill set to learn how to co-create with the planet as your partner. Knowing your what and asking are the part we bring to the co-creation nature. Gaia brings the exactly perfect. How if we can just get our minds and into our hearts. Oh, I love that. That's a very good way of, using a particular frame of reference, right? Like, how can you create this co-creation? But remember, again, like, you have to see the conscious choice that you've made before, and that's not easy. And that's exactly what Maureen is asking, right? Like, how do you undo something you've done in the past? And what really happens to you if you continue that path? And that's the scary part, is because you may not know that, how that affected you so much until it's like you're totally misaligned, right? So Maureen, to answer your question, I think it's better that you have to first look at whether it's an outer thing or is it an inner thing that I need to solve. And then I think you can take an action accordingly, because if it's something that's like a long time ago, but it can be resolved by you talking to that person, why not? If you think that is not going to be resolved by talking to that person or that specific choice that you made, then it's something inward that you need to shift within yourself. But it really depends on your manifesting blueprints, by the way. Your manifesting blueprints, some people need to talk it out and change their relationships with other people. And that's what shifts their reality, or they need to do it internally, which they don't talk to anybody and they just do it internally within themselves. It's a very, very different way of manifesting and changing things in your life. And it's a conscious choice, right? So yes, so remember, the third thing is you need to choose a new lifestyle. You need to choose a whole new way of living. And the old programming that you had before is what can really be blocking you. And if you're not taking that action, again, to what you wanted, right? Because you did it because you had to. You could like spend less time with the ability to solve that, right? You could be just spinning your wheels and just going through all of that chaos and those problems over and over again. And then you end up with more and more issues with others. And the same kind of problem with the same kind of person just shows up, or a different person, right? And so this is why we need to learn our lessons. We need to figure out from the very beginning. Otherwise, we're taking all these actions, but they're not really solving the root problem. And that takes self-realization. So once you have chosen this new lifestyle, right, then you start to take action to what you want, and then spend more time actually loving yourself, and doing it until you get super, super clear. So when you get super, super clear, then you're just, continuing this action, right? You're continuing that momentum that you wanted or what you created. So that third step is the hardest step, is choosing this new life or this new lifestyle. And the only way to do it is you have to take an action. Not something you do in your head, you do an action. Like, let's say, like, you spent your whole life not taking care of your health. And then, your health failed. And so now you're like, well, I need to eat better. That's better than doing nothing for 20 years later again, right? Until you have to do it. And that's the worst thing, is to get to that point of that's why you're getting this chaotic mess and you're so busy trying to fix the issue, and really you just need to go back and see what the choice you made and what kind of new programming, right? This new way of living that you need to do. So how does this all tie to your soul's gifts? This is why it's so important that you know what your soul is, because then it's so much easier to translate to how you're going to make decisions in your life, okay? Because what I have found is soul alignment has a lot to do with what you choose. like actions that you're choosing. So I'm going to draw a person. This is my favorite baby. Because this has a lot to do with your chakras too. So when you are in this kind of state of chaos, this is what really is happening. Yesterday I kind of talked about it, about, you know, you just being stuck with what's happening and going on in the physical world in your third dimensional aspect of the body. And every time when you operate from just your physicality, it does affect all dimensional aspects of yourself. We usually have about 10 dimensional aspects of our soul, and we have access to all of them at any time, depending on our consciousness and our ability to, you know, do these actions that are in alignment to yourself and to your soul. So when you are in this chaotic situation, you've got relationships and things that have disempowered you. Maybe you've lost lots of money. Maybe you lost your health. Maybe it's affected your business. So then you end up not creating money in your business. Then you could become bankrupt. And then, like, you know, it goes into this really big mess. It's because you're operating only on your 3D stuff, which is more, you know, your tools or the things that are supposedly supposed to help others, but it actually never helps you. And that's one of the biggest problems, is it never solves a problem. You just continuously get into this net of chaos of the 3D world, right? And you see that right now in the media with, you know, Trump and like all of these like physical stuff, right, that affects how we live, how we think, and it's all just this energetic net of chaos. So that is actually a choice to continue that way, to just live in your tools and physicality. And there's nothing wrong also with that, because it's something that people choose. So this is why you need to have no judgment about it. Every time when you feel like there's so many, you know, issues with whatever it is, you have to always come back to this neutral place, because you have to realize that no matter what path it was, that person or that place or whatever experience you had happened, good or bad. There's really no good or bad. It's just what is, right? It's just what is the experience that happened. So if you are stuck in the 3D world and just aligned to just your third level gift, by the way, it never really solves the issue. You always feel like you're working hard. And this is where the working hard comes from. And this is what we've been taught our whole life, that that's the way that we're supposed to, is that we have to work hard to make all of this stuff happen, to manifest whatever we want, right? To do what we want, we first need to sacrifice, right? Sacrifice. The more you operate in there, it never solves a problem, right? You always will feel the pain. And your third level gift, your third level soul level gift, is very useful when you come to this context I'm going to share with you once I, share the other aspects of the main gifts. So there's a reason you have this gift, okay? The reason why you have this gift, that's more of your tool, okay? Because it is actually the outcome that people are getting by your gift, okay? The main gift, which is your first gift, is the most important that you need to get aligned to, because that's going to stop you from experiencing so much of this chaos. And this is why people say live from the heart. Simple, right? It's true. You're consciously being present in your heart and you're operating from a bigger space of integration rather than exclusion. And also, again, it depends on your manifesting blueprint, because you can be exclusive or you can be integration. So your first level gift of the heart will absolutely solve every problem that you may be having. This is by me testing, so I know this. I've done this a lot with my clients, and I've taught them how to more operate from the first level gift, okay? Then you've got the second level gift. I'm talking about your soul's gift, and I'm talking about energetic qualities of your soul, okay? So don't mix that up. When you're doing it from your spirit, of course, on the spiritual realm, it is important that you know that where you're operating. From the heart, you're usually operating from the 5D. It's truly your heart creation. It's coming from a place of, of love. Usually, I'm talking about from your main gift perspective. When you're operating more from a higher aspect of yourself, your most expansive part, for sure, you're going to be operating, 7D and up, which your 7th dimension aspects has a lot to do with your relationships and deeper connections that you're having with people. And it does work, but not everybody can understand how that helps them when it's kind of like, a bit up there, esoteric sometimes. And so this is why a lot of businesses fail, is because they're trying to talk over their audience rather than straight into their heart. And like I said, you know the difference if you're talking from the heart or you're talking from your head, right? Or you're talking from your ass. This is another way of saying your body, right? That's not really coming directly from the soul space. And once you know what your energy of your soul is, it makes it easier for you to self-express, and also be deeply connected with the higher level of your being, which is usually when you're connected to source. Okay, so I'm not going to go into all the dimensional aspects. That's probably another live stream. But I just want to explain to you that you can choose on which gifts you really want to offer into the world. But if you are only operating on your second and your third gift, it creates, it makes you feel like you have to do it, like you have to work hard for it. But when you work from the first one, your main gift, it feels like in flow. It feels the way that I described to you, like your soul is just expressing itself. It feels like your soul's voice is absolutely just expressing it. Okay, so anyway, so I'm going to give an example. Everybody knows about my gifts. I'm going to use an example of someone else that's a very good close friend. So I gave the example of, like, let's say the person's main first gift is all about divine self-expression. So usually this person, if this is their gift, they're usually an amazing spiritual teacher. They're good at, like, bringing out their original content. They're very innovative. They have a lot of ideas. They have so much content that they don't even know what to do with it. They usually are people who talk about telling people's story. They're usually writers, or they're singers. Singers meaning like they write their own songs. Anything where they talk about the soul's voice, usually those are the self-expression people. And we see that all throughout the entertainment world, by the way, because they're bringing out their originality and their soul's voice. So people can see a different perspective, right? They're all about helping people to see a different kind of perspective. So let's say that the first gift is divine self-expression. The second gift is divine power. And the third gift maybe is divine creation. This is what I do with my clients. Is I have to know what their gifts are this way, then I know how to help them. So now that you see that this person, right, has three kind of gifts that has to do with self-expression. The second is divine power. So divine power people, they're all about leadership, getting people to get off their butt, empowering them, inspiring them to do what they need to do, to take the action. They move at 100 miles per hour. They're always thinking about all kinds of different things of how they can help people, how they can write, how they can speak, how they can do whatever. Like, they're always about freedom. They want a freedom lifestyle. They always like to be the boss because they're really good at it. They basically get people to take action. And divine creation, they're usually good at giving people amazing experiences, whether it's with the body, maybe they're very good at like getting people to feel their emotions, or maybe doing yoga or meditation or dance. They're usually those kind of people that like get them to do the thing, right? Like take an action, but take action with the body. I would say divine power, they tend to do it in their mind a lot. But if it's aligned, right, they're all about, when they get that clarity, they go for it. So if this person was like this, then if that person was in a chaotic situation, the first thing that you would need to do is be present, right, in your body, in your soul, by seeing where you can be more in your self-expression for this person, right? So what would that mean? That could mean spend more time writing in their journal, or start speaking to their audience, teaching them stuff, right? But teaching them from a point of view of their soul's voice. And as soon as they start doing that and being present and allowing their self-expression to come through, then they naturally empower people to go take action, to do what they need to do, right? And then giving them the third, which is the experience on how they're going to actually be able to experience their soul's voice. Do you see how that works? But if you are doing the opposite, so this is what's happening if you're in a chaotic mess. Usually you're doing your secondary or your third, right? So let's say you're doing mainly your third instead of the secondary, which is, the main, which is self-expression. You're doing more creation. So then maybe what the person is actually doing, they're focusing more about, well, maybe they have a business, a singing business or something like that. And they're just selling to their audience more about, well, how can you make more money or create more better relationships with certain people. And you're just focusing on creating all of these experiences when you really, really just need to speak to their audience directly from how can they know really, really what their soul is saying. And then what happens is, if that person is speaking so much from divine creation here, they get out of their power, which they tend to create, issues with other people in this way, right? And they themselves lose their soul's voice. That's usually what happens, is the opposite of that gift becomes the problem. And then they're in this chaos and mess, and they're just so involved with the money and maybe even the fame or the things that they're the tools or things that they need to do in their business, and they get all super stuck, right? And so they're just stuck in this work hard and sacrifice. And then they lost their soul's voice, and then they are not able to actually sing, or they can't really bring out their original content anymore. They feel really defeated, and they get out of their power. Do you see how that works? So what's happening is the person is doing the opposite of their gift, which is the divine creation of creating experiences, becomes so dominating that they cannot know what was their main gift. And I experienced the same thing because mine, of course, is very similar. Just mine is the divine love, divine power, and divine creation are my three gifts. So I just realized that that is why that person has a difficulty on even recognizing that they're an amazing teacher, that they're very innovative, that they know how to speak truth in this way, right? Because actually what they're really good at is they help people know what they want, what is their soul's voice. They get them into their power, they empower them, inspire them to take that action, whatever is needed, right? So that they can start making money or making traveling or creating experiences where they can feel aligned in their creation. And this is what you give to people when you're aligned to your soul's gifts. So if you could translate this, for yourself, you'll naturally get out of the chaos, and you'll naturally also, get out of relationships that are just not aligned to you, and you're going to be more present in yourself, and you're going to find the inner peace and the happiness that you're looking for at the time. Okay. I'm trying to see, there's a comment. So Maureen says, when you run across clients that are out of alignment in all their areas, on average, how long does it take to get turned around? Oh, that's a good question. On average, unless you take all of my programs, by the way, because all of the programs are all designed for, number one, become conscious of what it is that you're misaligned, right? Number two, stop doing that, right? Create a better lifestyle that's not that any longer, and doing it your way, and embracing yourself, loving yourself, right? That process could take at least 3 to 6 months, depending on the person, on how far away they have been able to love themselves, or whatever their main gift is, right? So if their main gift was self-expression, they'll have a very, very hard time bringing it out and speaking their truth in a way that's their originality, right? If they are divine love, then they obviously will have huge self-love issues that, I don't know, maybe even most of their life they never loved themselves, right? Or if their main gift is divine order, they might not be able to even put their life into order, right? They have like all of these circumstances that create a chaos around them, so then they don't have time to have that inner peace within themselves. Do you see how that all works? Like, it always goes back to the main gift. Once you're there, at that moment, probably around 6 to 12 months is actually, I've heard some people when they're not really, they don't understand these principles that I'm talking about. It can take about 6 to 8 months, because it depends on how far misaligned you were on being able to have access to your main gift, and knowing the difference between your main gift, your secondary, and your third, and what they do for you. And when you know all three of them, and you're doing that like every day, like it takes practice. Like you have to relearn how to speak to people, how to because most of the time you're doing it out of your ass, honestly. Like you're doing the backwards effect. Like most people are either doing their third or their second gift. And so we go in and out of them until you finally get what it is that you needed to align to. And you're like, oh, that's what it feels like. And even if you know what that feels like, you can go back in and out of it until you become the next levels, which is your psychic gifts expands. You have more access to this ability of knowing yourself like much more easily, and you catch it way, way, way before it happens. But because if you do take my programs, by the way, like they progressively help you to like know how to stand in your truth this way. Because that's the hardest part, is that first beginning part, because you're just try and error. And you have to look at what worked and what didn't work, and what feels good and what didn't feel good, and like figuring out what you want. Like that takes time. So usually about after a year of this reevaluating, getting rid of stuff and getting rid of shit that's not aligned to you, that could take the whole year. And then when you get to the point where oh, I can do this, I'm in my power, you know, I know what I want, I know how to create this, and I'm in this ability to manifest, because that's the biggest part, is how do I manifest what I want in my life, right? And if you don't have access to that ability to feel that, you know, especially feel from the soul level, because you're learning how to manifest from the heart, it does take time. And you definitely get really, really overwhelmed. Yeah, for sure, Maureen. You in the beginning, you're overwhelmed. So you have to kind of like unlearn all the things that you've been told your entire life to do. And that is super scary. That's the painful part. But once you see it, you're like, oh, that was why I made those decisions, and why I couldn't feel what I wanted, and I didn't do anything that was aligned to my main gift, right? You're going to see it all, because it's a self-realization. So I usually, about like the second year of, if you work with me like this way, it's so much easier. You can continue this process of later on being so expanded, to the point where you can do it by being a direct channel to source. So ultimately, that's the biggest transformation, is you're going to see that I have complete control. I'm in my sovereignty. I know what this feels like when I'm aligned, when I'm not aligned. I know how to get back into alignment that I know that I deserve. And I know how to manifest my dreams, you know, whenever I wanted. And you just like doing it consistently, right? And you're continually expanding, your psychic gifts get bigger, and you speak your truth that way. You start to, it just starts to be easier. So that was a really long explanation. But that's basically what I found, is that it's hard if you cannot do the first step. Because again, remember like how hard it is to get out of the chaos, get out of this 3D stuff. Like I get back into there and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I don't know. You almost like lose yourself. And this is why I'm saying, like, you feel like you're losing your sanity, because it's truly like that. And the only answer is get back into your presence, feel into what you want. What is it that's disempowering you right now? And how can you choose a new kind of lifestyle or new life consciously, right? And doing it aligned to your soul's gift. That's the hard part, because even though you know what your soul's gift is, taking action towards them, it's like an everyday practice. Like I have to always remind myself, journal about, you know, all the different things that resonate to divine love, because I'm like, and so I know like I'm love, but how can I be love when I don't even love myself, right? Or how can I be power when I don't even know how to be in my power? You know, like you're usually experiencing the shadow of it. And even when you are experiencing the wonderful effects of it, you're still kind of like, well, how do I improve that? Like, I don't know how to improve that. It's a bit harder. I never tried that before, because it's always about you having to try something different and seeing it from a different perspective, right? Do you guys have any other questions for me? Hi, Christy, Balin, Betty, Rebecca, Angela. Probably not everybody's on here, but I don't always get to see everybody that's listening. So any other questions about that? Why you need that? Obviously, why do you need your soul's gifts? Is it's going to allow you to not live the shadow of your gifts. So Maureen says, when you say shadow, oops. When you say in your shadow, can you explain that a bit more? Okay, so everybody's soul's gifts, there's always a positive, right? And there's always a negative. And a negative is just meaning like that's a shadow. Like it's just a part of you that you have to understand that is part of your lesson. So for example, for divine power people, they obviously always have problems with being in their power. People always either disempowering them, like either controlling them, right? They don't feel freedom because that's one of their biggest values. And so they get stuck in what they think other people need to do that they need to do for them rather than for themselves. And so the shadow of that would be that where they just don't know what they want. They don't have clarity. They always have problems with that. They know all of these possibilities and are super inspired with doing all of these things, but they get so lost in knowing what to do from all the noise around them. And so they tend to choose things that are disempowering. And how I know this, by the way, is just when somebody talks to me and they just share anything, I'm like, that person is probably divine power. That person is probably divine order. That person is probably divine love because they're talking their shadow. Most people talk their shadow until they finally realize that, like, what is their gift? They're like, what? I've been not in my power my entire life. How can I be power? Right? Even for myself, like when I found out that I was divine love, because I always thought I was divine creation because that was the way I act the whole time. I was using my third gift, and this is why I was so misaligned. I felt really unhappy because I was like, how can I be love when I don't really have a lot of loving relationships right now? Because I was a psychic monk and I did all of that stuff for other people. And I knew that I was doing it out of love, but I was healing a lot of people, but I didn't feel like I myself loved myself. So what I had to do for years is like learn how to love myself. And I didn't know how that felt like because I lived so much in the shadow of it. Like, well, I know how to help and give to people, but how do I give that to myself? I don't know. And that is a process, right? So that's what I mean by your shadow. It's like you're usually living your shadow more than your gift. Unless you are doing a lot of your purposeful work already and you figured out all of what your gifts are, like this is why you need to know your blueprints. Because when you know your soul's blueprints, you will know which part is you and which one is not you. And when you embody what you are, then you can be who you want to be. But if you're not who you are at soul level, you don't know what you need to be, right? You cannot move forward. And this is why people get stuck in their business. It's because they're not showing up as themselves. And that is the number one, I think, problem in for business owners is that they're not being themselves, right? They're actually acting the role or they're acting what they think they need to be until they get to a point where it's like, oh my God, like I need to stop. I need to stop doing this. And that's what happened to me when I was, in the group. I was a psychic guru, which was all about divine power, empowering people, teaching people to be leaders in what they do, right? And I also was teaching yoga and meditation, which is more about divine creation, giving people the experiences. I spent most of my life going in and out of divine power and divine creation. When the whole beginning, I never knew that I was divine love because I was like, well, that's super easy. I just hold space for people. I love them. I, help them bring out their pain. And so why is that special? Because usually the thing that is so easy is actually your main gift. And like I said, you're mostly living the shadow for so long that you don't know the difference, right? That was a really good question. Thank you, Maureen, because that's where most people are living. And this is what I'm talking about, why you're in the chaos, is because you are doing your secondary or your third gift because you think like you have to do it. You have to do something. And that was what I was doing, was I was thinking I had to teach how to people to breathe and do meditation. And I had to, I know that I was healing them and I was empowering them, right? Again, being in their divine power. But like, I didn't know the difference until I started talking about your soul's gifts. And I started talking about all of the stuff that I'm teaching to you guys, by the way. When I started self-expressing this, this whole new psychic gifts, this higher knowledge of source was channeled through me, and I can talk like this all day. So that's what the hard part is, because you need to see which one are your gifts. And once you have your blueprints, it's the roadmap that's going to give you the capacity to continue this, on your own by yourself, because nobody teaches you how to be in alignment. Nobody teaches you, like, how can you make these conscious choices that feels right for your soul. You've been always taught to do whatever you're told, and living somebody else's life rather than living your own, right? So this is what the 5-dimensional world is all about, is we're learning finally how to live from our heart, living from what our true desires are, our soul's desires. And that is a hard process if you have never, ever talked from your main gift, okay? Because the only way you know your main gift is by you taking that action every day until you actually get the full benefit of it, okay? So this is why I'm doing my 14-day soul line manifestation program, because I feel like people, once you know your blueprints, people will know how to create what they want by actually spending that time being connected to source and like taking action towards your soul's gifts. And the more you do that, the more clarity comes on what you need to do every day, and it makes it faster, and you manifest every 2 to 4 days. And when I mean manifest, I really mean you're in your heart creation, your soul is so happy, and you're just doing what you love to do. Because what I found is that it's not only about business, it's about like doing life your own way, right? Like living the life you've always wanted to live. And if you are coming from a place, well, how am I going to make money for this, right? If you're going into creation, how am I going to like get people into the leadership, and that's you doing your power? How am I going to create more order in my family and make more peace, when that's really not your gift? We're actually really doing gift envy. We're doing the gift that is really not our gift. And so the more you do that, the more you don't know how to express yourself, and you become so bitter inside. This is how you know when somebody's not aligned to their soul's gifts, is they're very bitter, they're very negative, they're very angry and frustrated at the world, and they live like in their own box, right? Whatever the problem is that they're having, and they hide. And they continue hiding until in some points they either suicide, or they just feel so unhappy, they don't sleep. I probably described all of all Americans like nowadays, right? Like they got so caught up in being disempowered. So this is why that's a choice, right? This is, you need to stop doing what you're told to be, that you need to do, right? Being more present with yourself, finding out what you truly desire and bringing that out, then taking actually aligned actions to that desire so that you actually experience it. Once you experience it, then you continue that experience until you manifest your wildest dreams. Like literally, that's the process. But the first level is the most painful, because you see all the problems and things that you've done either to your family or to yourself, and you have to forgive and accept yourself so much. So with the 14-day program, I give you these, like, I give you actually your manifesting blueprints, all of your soul's blueprints, and I'm also going to give you, I'm going to tell you what your 3 main gifts are. And once you have that clarity, then every day for 14 days, you're going to watch this 10-minute video. You're going to listen to this music of meditation that I choose specifically for this. And then you connect with source. You can more get into your heart's desires. And then you ask your soul line question. So the question that will take you to know what action to take for the day. You take the action. Once you've taken the action, you do this every single day for 14 days. And this is what's going to give you the experience of this alignment to your soul, and specifically to your main gift. Because everything goes back to your main gift. And if you have that experience, it's going to give you that capacity to manifest anything. And also, if you do the VIP version, I actually give you I mean, I actually clear out more than 20 some soul level blocks that are restricting you from being visible, from, expressing your soul, what your soul wants to do, being more in touch with your soul, and all those aspects, all because without that experience, it's really hard for you to duplicate it. So with the program, we're starting on January 2nd. And I'm excited for this again, this next round, because it's going to give people more of another step of how this soul's gifts, are going to take them to a much more higher level. And so yeah, with the program, if you guys are interested in doing this, I will also do a special clearing for you if you would like to do that. If you sign up today, where I'm going to clear out and open up your chakras and your soul very, very quickly. And then I'll give you your blueprints and stuff like that. That will be emailed to you. So if you're interested in that, you can go to my website. I guess it doesn't turn on. If you go, it's here. You can go to my website. It's leimomikeliikuli.com. And right on there is going to be the 14-day soul line manifestation method program. And once I see the payment, I start doing the process, because actually you need to do this preparation stuff, all these kind of exercises, and watch this video and do this preparation work so that you can feel this alignment. And then once you've done that, it's going to get you into this momentum to actually start taking action for that 14 days. And we're doing the group inside of a private Facebook group. And since you guys are listening also on my Facebook group, I'm also offering that for you guys, because some of you guys needed a clearing. And that's going to allow you to make the steps that you need to take much more faster in your manifestations. And the VIP part of it is you get the big clearing, and you also get a psychic attunement to your specific thing that you want to manifest. And all of that is on the page. So just have a look at that and see if this really resonates with you, because once you know your soul's gift this way, this will stop you from being, controlled by this chaos and just being busy. And it's going to actually unblock your business. It's going to allow you to move forward in your business so that you can just feel clarity and more peace inside. And I've noticed that when you do that, when you get in alignment this way, everything all just flows. Like literally, this is why I always say that, when you're aligned to your soul's gifts, everything else behind you just comes into effect. Better health, better relationships, flourishing business, more love and respect for yourself and your soul. And because to me, that's the most important thing, is if you're feeling that alignment with your soul. All right. Any other last questions? Thank you for your questions, Maureen. That was really, really good. So yeah, anyway, I will probably be creating more programs like this over the next year. So just follow me here on my Facebook group, Soul Aligned Leaders for Conscious Living. And if you've been wanting to know a little bit about what your soul's gifts might be, then for sure go on my website there and take my quiz, because in the quiz it will give you exactly kind of what your type is. It's not going to give you this description that I just told you, that whether you're power or creation and stuff, but it's going to give you an idea of what your gifts might be by a certain type, because I've typed them into 3 types. And then also you get these videos where you can, basically learn about how to use your intuition in that way too. All right. So thank you so much for listening to me. I know I have like long workshops like this, but the reason I'm doing this is because I feel like people have not been educated on what alignment is. And it's literally going to change your life if you start from this, right? So is this realistic? Oops, I missed your comment. So is it realistic to think that even though I do not know what my packages and services look like will entail, that this 14-day will give me clarity on that? Yes. The one thing that you need to understand, Maureen, is that when you know what your soul is, then you know what your messaging is. And when you know your messaging, you know who the heck you're talking to and who's your ideal clients. Once you know who your ideal clients are, then you talk to them and you market to them, and then you create programs accordingly to what they need. That's how it works. But if you don't know what your soul is, and you don't know like who you're talking to and how you should be talking to them, like it absolutely will drive you crazy, because you're not going to have a better understanding of what you're offering and what you're doing, right? And the more you get into understanding that, the programs and services, they just come out of it. And even if you don't do it within that time frame of the 14 days, at least you get some clarity, and the clarity is so important. Because remember, you need to stop what is misaligning you, right? You need to change it, change the lifestyle. Then you need to consciously take actions that's going to take you to the direction that you want, and then you can manifest the things that you want, right? And everything else follows behind. I really truly believe that, because without the core, not knowing what your soul is, it's absolutely what makes people so unhappy. Even the people who are making a lot of money, they can be very, very unhappy because they're not connected to their soul, right? Or the other way around, they're super connected to their soul, but they're not really making money because it's not serving them at the needs that they want in their physical world. And that's misalignment too, right? So you want to make sure that you have a balance, that you have your means, that you have, like, you feel safe in this body, you know, that you feel very inspired, that you're doing your purposeful work, that you're expanding even further, you're helping humanity and helping the whole universe along this way too. So you want to make sure that you are serving yourself first, giving enough self-love, and then you can do the other things. But most people are just stuck in that first two phases of their consciousness this way, right? All right. All right, so I love you guys all. I'll probably see you guys all tomorrow. I hope this enlightened you. If you love this, share this, you know, just push the share button. I hope that this will give you a sense of what to do, what choice that you need to make. And if you just jumped on in, go listen to the replay, because this is very, very powerful channeled information that's going to help you to get out of this chaos and to move your business forward, especially in 2017. I'm so excited for that, because there's so many amazing things that we are capable of doing now that the 5D grid is available for everybody. All right, well, you have a beautiful day. Aloha.